So I invited Joe to come in and speak to council. It's your organizational meeting. I thought it would be appropriate to have someone come in and just speak to some of council's duties, some of the CAO's duties. We've gone through the bylaws, the organizational bylaw, the procedures bylaw, the code of conduct bylaw now. So we've addressed all of the important ones. And I just thought it would be helpful to have Joe come in and touch on some of the items that he feels are important for council to recognize, and have a sort of presentation at the beginning of your four-year term. And that way, if anyone has any questions or has anything that's come to light that they wanted to ask, I think Joe can help out by answering some of those. Okay?
Okay, well, thanks, Kara. Thank you to you for having this session. I believe in a very interactive session. I'm going to speak for some things, but I want you to ask questions, challenge me, whatever it is that's on your mind. I want to know, because that's the only way we're going to learn it. So I'm not here to lecture for an hour. I'm here to dialogue with you guys. Okay? So I'm not having an overhead because I really want to focus on the discussion. I'll give Kara a total set of overheads that she can provide you after. So don't worry about taking notes. Just think and listen and interact. I think we'll do well. First of all, congratulations, you're new council, and it's a big honor you've been given by the residents. How many here are brand new councillors? Okay. Why did you run?
Well, it's been things to do type of thing, and I've had people approach me and wished that I would come forward to council, I guess, and present ideas and thoughts and represent them accordingly.
Okay.
Myself, I thought that, figured that kind of needed somewhat of a change or a facelift in council. I've decided that I should stick my name in and give it a try.
Good for you. I'll maybe ask one of the returning ones. Why did you run again?
Some incomplete projects.
Okay.
And some things I want to get done, and I wanted to complete them.
Good. Okay, well, those are good answers. And so, it's really great that you've taken this on for your community, because, I mean, just so you know a little bit about me, those are maybe the new ones. I was 20 years executive director for the Association of Manitoba Municipalities. I had a great career with them. I love municipalities. I think they do great work. I worked in the provincial system and been in the federal, and just think the municipal sector is so good. It's right there with people, and it's as you well know, the residents are very close to you. So, and then in October I got elected to the City of Portage Council. So I had retired in 2020 and was doing a bit of work, and so now I'm on the elected side like you, and I have a great deal of respect before I was elected for elected officials, because I know you have some tough challenges. People are in your face a lot. You have social media. It's changed a lot in 20 years of being on council. It isn't just the one meeting a month and you sort of go away after that and don't come back for another month. So I want to first of all talk about what I see as some of the things effective councils, what makes them effective. First of all, effective councils serve best when they provide policy leadership. So you're here looking at the big picture of Rosedale. What's the community need? What's the municipality need? Sort of a big policy perspective. Effective councils are not meddlers. They try to look at policy, let their staff bring forward recommendations, but it's really important. Doesn't mean you don't have oversight. There's an expression George Cuff says, you put your nose in, put your fingers out. Let your staff do the work, bring it to you, and that way you can make the best decision. If your staff aren't giving you that good information, then you need to express that to your staff. But it's really important that you focus on decision making. You're more of a servant. That's a good council, and I think it sounds like all of you here run for the right reasons. You didn't run, you had some personal grudge maybe, or you've got some project in your street that you want done. You really ran for the good of Rosedale, and I commend you for that. Effective councils argue, disagree, speak up, and do it in a spirit of respect. And I know it sounds easy and common sense, but believe me, one of the things the province brought in the code of conduct, I overheard some discussion about that. Unfortunately, it was because some councils really got out of hand. There's a case, one council and this is had a restraining order. Two councillors had a restraining order, a court order to be apart. Can you imagine sitting on council? They left at separate exits. It was very strict how they interacted. So it's okay to disagree, speak up, make sure, you know, and I know, you know, you sit there sometimes, you think, I shouldn't ask, that's a dumb question. You are obligated to speak up and make sure your views are known. There is no dumb question when you're an elected official. You respect each other in private and in public, and effective councils understand that the debate is among you, not with Kara. Once she's done her work and everything, you are the ones then that have to, don't say, Kara, that was dumb, and you know, this sort of stuff. You can have your debate on the issue. Was it a good issue? Is the recommendation from administration good? And make sure you focus on one another, not with staff. They do their job and then turn it over to you to do the work. Council and mayor, they set the tone at the top. You know, we have municipalities over the years I saw, don't ever kid yourself. The public knows when you're not getting along. The public knows that you're not getting along in terms of you one another. If you're fractious or you're unified, the public will know. Dialogue in the chamber. This is the most important thing. This is where you have to speak. Not in the washroom, not in the coffee shop, not in, just, each other on the street. I mean, you do have some discussion. I'm not saying you see one another, hey, what did you think of that the other day? But really, ultimately, under the Act, this is the sacred place for you to be able to speak your mind on issues. Never forget that. Council outlines its priorities and expects the CAO to implement them. You set the direction, and staff are charged, and if you're there to make sure staff are doing their job and bringing forward your strategic direction. But if you do that, show respect for and professionalism for management. You know, they're your staff. You've hired them. Let them do their job. Let them work with you. They want to see you succeed. They're human too. They want to see community of Rosedale do well, municipality of Rosedale. Always ask your CAO for advice. You don't always have to buy it, you know. And this is really important. You know, it doesn't mean you have to disagree every time just because you don't like it or whatever. But make sure you always ask your CAO. If you're really kind of stuck, what do you think, Carol? What's your opinion? What does staff think? Because they live this stuff every day. They're in the office working on it. Always ask their advice. And public criticism of administration, you can get a lot of criticism. You're going to hear about your staff, but just make sure you don't make it a big public thing of how you're, in the end of the day, if you have personnel issues, they are dealt with here. Make sure you have decorum in the council chambers. Again, this is a very sacred place. And I use that word because you've been given the honor to sit here by your residents. You think about it. I know sometimes you think, nobody wanted the job or, whatever. But you've been given a real sacred trust, so make sure you keep it, the decorum here. And, as I say, leave your egos at the door. I mean, we all have egos. I ran as an elected official. I'm amazed. I've never realized this. You were really put yourself out there in the community. I was running and I was getting messages on social media. I hadn't even been elected yet. I was getting, so we all have egos as elected officials, but, when you walk in here, the job is for the municipality of Rosedale. All right. Governance. So you're charged to govern the municipality. That's your job. And that term is thrown around a lot. What does governance mean to you? Like when you say you're in charge, you're governing the municipality. What does it mean? What does it mean to you?
Well, I guess the decision's got to come from here. I guess it's, we work together as a team. I guess
Yeah.
governance, I guess.
Okay, on behalf of?
Those people,
Yeah,
all the members,
Yeah.
all the ratepayers.
right, exactly. Not a few. What else? What else does governance mean when you say, oh, you're in charge, or you're governing our community? What else do you see you have to do?
Making the best informed decisions you can.
Make the best informed decisions, exactly. And you get all the information. One of the things I always tell council, if the report from staff is not complete, or you just feel you can table things. You can table things. You don't have to deal with it today. I mean, there's very few things that have to be dealt in the next 10 minutes. We got to make a decision, unless you've got a disaster or a flood or fire or something. So make sure on governance. But those are all good things. Anything else on governance that you think is important as the leaders of your municipality?
Cooperation.
Operation, yeah. But I think you said the main thing is you are here for the public. It isn't for, it isn't to, I mean, you have to get along with the public is really here saying to you, and that's a tough thing sometimes, because sometimes people say, you know, geez, I wonder what the public think about it. I wonder, maybe we should wait in decision and talk to, and it's okay to consult with your residents, but I'm a big believer, that you've been elected here, you deserve the right to make decisions. And sometimes, you know, you have information the public doesn't. You make the best decision, don't be afraid. I mean, you should listen to your residents, but it shouldn't be referendum. Oh, we gotta approve some road work here. Should we talk to the residents about it? And, you know, and make sure you at least deal with it here because you are responsible and they put you here for that reason. All right, what about poor governance? I'll give you a couple of things that I see. And if you start going in this way in the next 4 years, you know, take note of it because it's a sign maybe things are starting to go a bit sideways. First of all, you need a strong agenda. The agenda is really important, that you're dealing with the things that need dealing with. I don't know how you do your agendas, but the CAO often and the head of council, maybe sit down and go over it first before it goes out. But make sure you're comfortable with that agenda. That's your agenda. You make sure the priorities are there. Be careful of focusing, we talk about vested interest groups. Every community has them, you know. In that southwest corner of Rosedale, that group there, boy, they're really on our case about, you know, and if every meeting you come here and go, God, what's that southwest group gonna think of this? No, they have not been elected, you have. And I know it's tough because they'll put pressure on you, but be careful. We talked about childish behavior. I mean, I just keep saying that over and over, but just, you know, there's some videos out there, some council meetings. It's quite amazing what's going on. And, you know, when the province brought in the code of conduct and all that, it was near the end of my career, and I thought, you know, this is probably for like 10% at the most municipalities, but Big Brother came in and put it in there, and it's now for everybody. So, resistance to change. Somebody, one of the new people mentioned change. You know, it's easy to you, sir.
Yeah.
You know, it's okay. Change is good. You know, you need to look at. You are obligated to look at change. You know, if things aren't working right, you have to change. But don't throw everything out. Some things are probably working very well.
Yeah.
Unprofessional advice, inadequate advice. If you are not getting the information from administration that you need to make that decision, do not make that decision. Do not make it because you think, you know, and what will happen is your staff will be charged with giving you the good information. And if you're not happy, but make sure you say, you know, we need this information, we need this, we haven't, that's okay, you know, and allow your staff to, because sometimes staff just, I mean, forget something, they just, you know, especially a big proposal coming to you. And I always tell CEOs, make recommendations, don't be afraid, options if you have to, but at the end of the day, you decide. You decide. Focus, when you start, another pitfall is if you start focusing on the people and not on the issue. So, you know, Bill, that was a stupid idea. You know, that was a really dumb, you know, forget about Bill. Bill's giving his opinion. Focus, Bill, I have a concern with you, with what you're saying, and this is why. It isn't about Bill. Bill has every right to be at this table the same as you do. So, you know, be careful, don't get on the people side of it. The word policy is seldom heard. If you are not using the word policy to administration, what's our policy on this? You know, we got this issue, what's our policy? Maybe you don't have one. Maybe you need to create it. Always ask, what's the policy? You'll never get in trouble in terms of doing something under the act that's wrong or whatever if you're focusing on policy and administration is giving you the best advice. All right, roles. Now this is, I'm going to say something here that's, I just believe to my gut. If you get the role of council and your administration and the head of council sorted out in a general way, you will be very successful. All the things that I dealt with at AMM over the years, a lot of the problems I saw, it was clarifying the roles. Because, you know, it's like a dance partner. You're trying to figure each other out. You've been elected, administration is there every day as the permanent staff, and they want to provide you support, and you need to also give them feedback. So this is really key. All right, role, it says mayor, the reeve. What's the role of the reeve?
To steer council into the right direction.
Okay, What else?
Make sure the meeting runs well.
Yeah, you're running a meeting,
Yeah.
yeah. What else? What else do you see the head of council doing? That you feel that it should be doing? Different from a council member, we'll talk about council member. What unique things does the mayor do? That would be
Represent the municipality
with the public?
with the public, with
Government.
other government
Yeah.
officials or whatever happens, yeah.
On behalf of.
On behalf of the Rosedale.
That's the key. What about the liaison with the CAO? CAO reports to council,
Right.
but is there some work that the Reeve should be doing with the CAO at times?
Yeah, to find out what the policies are, to have discussions,
Right?
you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm new at this job,
Yeah.
Kara's helped me a lot, and I'm really appreciating that.
Good. It really is a key role, is that I always tell CAOs, develop a relationship with the head of council, because that's the person you can bounce things off between meetings. You know, there will be phone calls, geez, what do you think we should do on this? Because you can't always get everybody together on every issue, you just can't, it's not gonna happen. And then the head of council can give political direction to the CAO, that's really important. I'm not saying, you know, it has to be every day, every minute, and the head of council's gotta be in this office. It's that relationship so that when you go to council, the CAO feels at least that some things have been vetted with the head of council.
So then, like, you know, if I happen to be in town, whenever I swing by the office and just say, hey, Kara, how's things going today? You know, bounce some stuff off her and
Yeah.
bounce off me.
Right.
You know, so when we come to this, we got a better understanding how to get everybody together,
Exactly.
work as a team.
You never go wrong dialoguing with the CAO between meetings, now, I mean, you have to be careful, you're not
Yeah.
taking all their time and they can't get their job done, but no, you're exactly right. You know, and you know, or the council agenda goes out, and then all of you can participate in this, you know, I don't understand. Try to deal with things even before the council meeting. You know, like if you got a question, don't wait to ask them, because, you know, you can talk to the staff throughout, before the meetings and all that, but the head of council really sets the tone with staff. And now, what about, whose role is it you two are fighting? Right? All right.
All the time.
Right, I can tell. Whose job is it to intervene? Is it Kara's job or the head of council?
Head council.
Okay, right. What if the head of council and you are fighting? Whose role is it there?
Deputy.
Make sure council conflicts are resolved at the council, by council or the head of council. You know, don't put, I've seen municipalities say, you know, to the CEO, Kara, you know, Bill's really being an idiot. Can you go talk to Bill? That puts Kara in a really pickle situation. Be careful, don't involve, you know, her job is to sort out the staff conflicts. Your job, make sure you don't bring us, and I know it's easy to do sometimes, hey, Kara, could you talk, you know, maybe Kara has a good relationship with one of the councilors, you know, maybe can talk some sense, maybe if they're being disruptive, or, no, it has to be, because if something happens and then all of a sudden, it can put her at home. Yeah. So, role of council. What's the role of council?
Basically govern the municipality and listen to the informed information from your ratepayers and they take it to council as a whole.
What else? What else? You got, been on council now, what's your role?
Probably something where both between the ratepayers and this chamber.
Listening to your public.
Yeah.
Make sure you understand legislation. Make sure you, and I don't know the orientation here, like the municipal act, if you're going to go through, and there's some key acts. If your CAO ever says to you, you cannot do this under the municipal act, listen. Listen, please. Because there, she is then obligated, if you proceed anyway, she's obligated to advise the province that there may be something under the act that's not happening here, and be very careful with that. Doesn't, you know, I mean, generally you have a lot of discretion, but there are some things that, you know, the municipal act, there's the planning act, I'm sure you'll be going through conflict of interest and so on. What about policy? What's your role on policy assessment? Are you there to, we talked a little bit about change policy, look at policy. Hopefully you do that throughout your term, and things aren't, you feel not working. It's, you know, I know in Portage we're looking at some policies now, you know, It's just to be good governance, to make sure we're looking at our stuff. Who's, what else in terms of, what else do you see your role being?
Just kind of look out for the people.
Look out for the people, exactly. You also have an obligation to make sure you evaluate your CAO. And I will say this now, my view is that council has one employee, it's a CAO. And that CAO reports to you. And if there are problems with the staff, how many staff do you have currently?
3 in the office,
3 in the-
including myself,
okay.
and then foreman.
Foreman, yeah. But even your foreman, you know, the CEO has to know what's going on, you know, and I don't know, some foremans report to council, some report, but everything has a budgetary consequence. And be very careful that if the CEO doesn't know what's happening, it could be very problematic on your budget, it could be something against the act, you could get, and the other thing is, it protects you politically, you know? If you're a bit of a buffer there with the staff and a ratepayer comes to you and says, you know, what are you doing about this drainage thing? And they're like, well, you know, I'll look into that. Get a report from staff or, you know, wherever it comes from. And then it comes back to you, you've got it informed, and it's so easy. Believe me, I understand when you're elected, you feel you want to make sure you help people. I get it. I see that in my own council now, you know, you want it, but it's so important to be careful because they don't always give you the straight goods. They give you sometimes half the story. And all of a sudden, somebody else is impacted by something you've done, and then it's a whole brouhaha. So make sure your staff get you information. Doesn't mean it doesn't come back to you, but just take a step back from the resident and say, you know, I'm going to look into that for you because it's, you know, I need to get more information. But make sure you evaluate your CAO on a regular basis. You have to make sure, because I know some CAOs have not been evaluated for 5 years. Then there's a big kerfuffle and there's no evaluation and council's going, my God, you know, make sure every year, even if things are going well, give her feedback. How can she improve? Good CAOs will accept that. They want to do better. They don't want to hurt the municipality. So, anything else that you, role of council? All right. So it's kind of a big policy, making sure you're guiding the ship, talking to your, stay engaged in your community too. And I don't think in the RM Rosedale that's a problem. You know, sometimes in larger centers, you kind of lose touch a little bit with your residents here. So, you know, just more people. I have no doubt in Rosedale, you are all pretty engaged in your communities. I think the most positive, so I don't think that's a problem. All right, role of the CAO. What's the role of the CAO?
Keep us in line.
Okay. To a degree. What else? What else do you see the role of the CAO?
You wanted honesty, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Some more than others.
What else?
Take our policies and hand it down to her employees under.
Right. Very good point. Once you make a decision, that's a very good point. Her job is then to go to staff and say, this is the decision of council, how are we going to implement it or whatever. You don't go to staff, and I know sometimes you're going to overrule staff. You don't go to staff and say, oh, it's council, what a bunch of, you know, that's not her role. Her role is to say, council has made their decision, we're now going to, and too many CAOs, and Kara's here so I can talk frankly, sometimes get themselves into trouble, they meet staff, then the word gets back to council, my CAO just said their decision was stupid. If you've got all the information, but you feel you have to go a different direction for whatever reason, her job is to implement it, so very good at it. It's her job to implement down the line, make sure all the staff implement what you want in a timely way.
Yeah.
I had one municipality tell me they were applying for a grant program. It wasn't a big grant, it wasn't one of the big infrastructure. It was like, so the council agreed, okay, we're applying for this. CO never did it, never followed up, never did anything. Deadline passed, went to council, and when the council said, what happened to that grant? Did we get it? Oh, I missed the deadline. That CAO just cost, and it was one of those grant programs, I think most municipalities were getting it. It was one of those that was, I forget, it was a recreation, I can't remember. That's, you have to be following your wishes on a timely basis, and that's part of the head of council. You know, council went through this, where are we at with this, Kara? Where are we at? Just kind of a temperature check with Kara on some kind of things. What else does the CAO do? What about financial matters? What's the CAO's role?
Make sure we're on track.
your budget, make sure,
Yep.
yeah. Very important. There's a lot of things, unfortunately, with financials that right now in municipalities that are not going well in some municipalities. You know, we've got the audits now been called by the province for some municipalities, you know, so make sure you have good oversight on finance. You know, there's no dumb question on finance. Some people are really good on financial statements and other people struggle a little bit. It's okay, whatever, but make sure if something doesn't make sense to you, you make sure you question it. That's your job as accountants. What about hiring? What's the CEO's role in hiring people?
She does the interviews.
Now, in a small municipality, I mean, I don't know, maybe Carol, at times you will involve a head of council or a council member, depending on the job, you know, because it's not a big, I know in the city of Portage, we have a, you know, our city manager hires the people and has the interviews with the committee. It's a little more, but you know, a smaller municipality, you might want to have a member of council. You figure it out. The main thing is let her sort of work with him and guide and really take her recommendation on hiring, because they're the ones that have to work with people, you know, every day. And you sort of undercut and say, you know, my cousin was interested in whatever, you know. I know it's tough. By the way, what's your population?
1524.
1524, okay.
Yeah.
But, you know, support your CEO when they hire someone, and then they're accountable. They're the ones that are gonna have to deal with the problems. And, you know, the other thing is, I know some municipalities, you know, say, oh, we wanna see the resumes. Unless you're on the hiring committee, legally, you're not supposed to see those resumes. It really is the hiring committee. So, you know, I know some councils, oh, we wanna see all the resumes. And I mean, sometimes there's only a couple, it's not like that. But just allow your CEO to guide the hiring process and hire good people. Any questions so far? I'm covering a lot of stuff. I want to get to a couple more things. So, some keys that I just, in summary so far, make sure you understand the importance of your role. Very important. Don't not, you know, I hear people say, you know, nobody wanted the job. You know what? No. You have a big job. You are a councillor. You're a head of council. You are looking after Rosedale. You're one of 137 councils in our province. Don't diminish your role. I know in the public, yeah, you're on council, you're all crooks or this or that. It's easy. It's easy to bash elected officials. You know, it's a trend that I feel bad for, because it's not. You're not making a ton of money here. You are guiding the municipality. So don't let people diminish your role. Respect the people you serve with. Address the stuff that derails you right away. Don't let it fester. I've seen councils 4 years, the same issue, or the same person is, you know, doing the same stuff, and it's grinding council. Deal with it, whatever way you can now. Keep a mental picture of the public. What do they expect? And realize that they do not receive the information that you do, and that you have the information. The public should be listened to, but you have the information are there to make the best decisions. So, how much time we got left, Karen?
About 15 minutes.
Okay.
And depending on how much time you want to give for questions or.
Well, yeah, anytime, you know, questions want to come up. Got a few more things I just want to cover off here. But this role thing, and you know what, it'll be stumble at times, it'll be awkward, because, you know, administration wants to do well, but sometimes you may feel they're overstepping. You know, she might feel at times you're overstepping and getting into the knitting and too much. It's a relationship, it's a dialogue. Make sure you work at it and make sure you clarify it right away, because you don't want to get 4 years of just constant bickering between staff and council. It's not good. So, anything coming to your mind right now? I'll just get the next slide. Does this make sense, some of the roles?
Oh, absolutely.
It's fundamental. If you get this right, I believe there's nothing on this table that you will deal with that you won't be able to overcome. But that other stuff, it can just bog you down. Okay, now, some of the pitfalls on this whole roles. So just watch this as council members and administration and watch for these pitfalls. No orientation. Is there an orientation happening?
Yes.
All right. Believe it or not, we still have, councils don't get an orientation from staff. So you brand new and all, you know, what's my role? I was called, we had ours on Saturday, at a 9 to 3, it was a long day, but yeah, a lot of orientation, because we have 4 new councillors out of 6. So the majority are actually new. Watch the lack of respect. I've talked a lot about that, I don't want to belabor that point. Watch that. Inability to listen. Fear of the public. Watch that. We talked about that earlier. Be careful you're not just their agenda, because they may have some other agenda. Make sure it's your agenda with your colleagues. These are the people, at the end of 4 years, that you want to look them in the face and say, you know, we did good work together. We did the best we could. You're going to get heat, you know you are. Have thick skin, but don't fear the public. They're your residents, they're going to push you. Trying to please everyone. Misunderstanding the role of the media. Now here, I think media is pretty good, a lot of areas outside, in smaller centers, the media is fair, right? Right? But you always remember. By the way, who speaks for the municipality with the media? Do you have a media policy or who can respond?
We don't have a policy.
We don't have any.
Okay, you might want to have them. Generally, head of council, when it's an issue, there's different models on delegate the CEO for some issues. At AMM, we had a policy. If it was an existing policy at AMM, I could speak to the media because they often phone me because I was the executive director. If it was outside of policy, I would refer it to the president. And then we had different backups if they were not available. Some municipalities, Portage is an example, the mayor said that I'm finance chair, so they, or we have community, we have transportation, water work, the head of that committee often will respond, but it'll be the mayor that will delegate. So it's a little different model. She wants others to speak to the mayor, to the media, but that's okay. It's whatever you're comfortable with, but make sure you have some media policy, just even if you put on paper a simple policy so it's clear.
Yeah.
Another pitfall, be careful, lack of focus on the big picture. You're going to be dealing with a lot of bylaws, you're going to be dealing with all kinds of things. Always remember what's the long-term big picture of the municipality. What is it you want after 4 years to have accomplished? Listening only to select voices. This is a tough one, eh? Like, you all have influences and people that helped you get elected, and your buddies, and your friends, and your relatives. Be careful you're not just listening to them. Because now that you're on council, they're going to go, well, you're on council now I can, right? And they may be okay to listen to them, but be careful, it's just not always coming to council saying, my cousin Bill was telling me, well, you know what, Bill hasn't got all the information. Putting party politics before civic. I don't see a lot of this over the years. I saw many councils with different political stripes. I was really proud that even at AMM over the years, we had all the parties represented on our board table. And they really, when the government needed to be criticized, they did. And when they had to say thank you for something that we got as municipalities, no matter what party was in, the president, even if a different stripe, did that publicly. So, be careful of that, but I don't think that's as big an issue in municipal as showing lack of confidence and then around the CAO. Please do not do that. If you got an issue, talk to her about it. Make sure you don't go to the second in command or the third and start saying, Kara I'm not happy with Kara. Talk to Kara. Don't go in. You know what? She works for you. You've hired her. Make sure you give her the tools and the respect so that she can do it. Making decisions without seeking advice. Always seek advice. You will never go wrong with seeking advice. A lot of you have good expertise in some areas. You come to the table. You might be involved in a trucking company and you understand all the things about that. Always seek advice, though. So those are some of the pitfalls. Just little one-offs. Absence of decorum, no focus on policy, misuse of confidentiality. For the new people there, do you know in camera what that means? In camera? Confidential, just council, maybe council and the CEO. What are things in camera? What is just a few of the things in camera that should be discussed in camera?
Finance.
Personnel.
Staffing.
Personnel, finance, sorry, when you say finance, you mean,
Well, I guess. it-
okay, all right, yeah, no, finance is public, your
Yeah,
statements are
yeah.
public. Okay, what else?
Wages,
Personnel.
is it?
Yeah, personnel, negotiations, what else? What about a developer coming in here? It's just in process discussing things with you. And should that be out in the public right away? Some businesses wanting to come here?
Depending on the nature of it.
But as you're discussing as a council, be very careful of the public, you know, because they may be looking at buying land, they may be buying, you know, you may be having discussions with the town to meet law, you know. There's a time that that's public, but just be careful, like I know a lot of economic development stuff is usually in camera. Just because the proponent doesn't want it out there yet. So be careful with that one, because that can, you can lose a business that wants to come here if they feel. Anything else in public, in camera? Very few things have to be in camera. Be careful, you know, there is a trend sometimes for councils to go into camera too often. They want to, and then just come back to the council table, oh, well, we've decided everything. No, you decide things here in public. But there are a few things that are in camera. Legal is another biggie.
Yeah.
If you're getting a legal opinion, Kara's bringing you a legal opinion, your lawyer is coming in to give you some advice legally, that should maybe be in camera. You know, there is a time when the public will find out, but be careful you're going in camera just for those kind of things. And again, neglecting the value of asking a dumb question. Always ask a question if you're not sure. There is no dumb question. I know people say that. I've been guilty of it. I've sat at stuff and I should ask that, and then they don't say nothing. 10 minutes later, that's the same thing I was thinking, you know?
Yeah.
So make sure you ask questions. You have every right as an elected official. But keep that relationship in mind. I've got just a couple of one-offs, and then we'll wrap it up. Work-life balance. This is not your life. This is part of your life. Make sure you respect your family, your whatever, you know, for the new people that got on, you're going to want to work hard, you're going to be pulled in a lot of directions, but always remember the work-life balance. This will end someday. You still have something to go back, family to go back to, and you know, I think it's important. And it's easy to get wrapped up. It really is. You can be going to meetings 24/7 sometimes. Be careful of that. We talked about the harassment issue, and there is legislation now. You all have to take training now, first thing in 6 months. I don't know if Kara, is that something that we'll be bringing forward for them? Yeah, it's now mandatory. It's online, I believe. So, but keep in mind, bullying, harassment. These are the things now that are very sensitive in the workplace. And, now, having said that, because we had this discussion in the province, you're evaluating Kara, and if things aren't going well, and she's not doing her job, or whatever, making sure you talk to her and pushing her to do her job better, that's not harassment. But if you're in here texting 100 texts a day, and you're wondering where she is at 11:08, and you know, and be careful with that. And among each other, we've had some really bad cases, and I won't go into them today, but fellow councillors really, and one guy, it was just tragic, he left council, and he had some real problems after he left council. He had been bullied very badly, so just be careful of that. You know, good debate, strong debate, nothing wrong with that. Conflict of interest, the new people, you're going to get so probably a briefing on that. What's conflict of interest to you? What does it mean when you're dealing on council issues? What's conflict of interest?
Well, saying is part over the gravel pit, so if it happened the gravel was coming out of my pit or the pit that I own,
Yeah.
then that's conflict of interest. I don't need to be here.
Okay, that's good. Anything else?
If you're friends with a contractor and they're being awarded a contract, then you should step away type of thing. You know, that's a conflict of interest as well. So.
Yeah, the consequences, and it's, you know, we've had a few elected officials removed over the years. The court, the public can bring you to court, and the King's Bench now can remove you. And it's one of the few ways you can actually lose your council seat. It's very few under the Act. People say, oh, they're not listening to us. Can we get rid of them? No, you can't. They're elected. But conflict of interest is one. So you know, you can read the legislation. You can I'll give you Joe Massey's poll notes. In your gut, You all have gut feelings, right? If it seems it's not good, it probably isn't. And even if it's not quite violating the act, but you just, the optics of it, if people find out, your name is worth a lot. And you can have enough criticism, you don't need, if it just feels wrong, excuse yourself, And I know it's harder in a smaller municipality, people who generally sit on council are involved in a lot of other things. That's the nature of municipal politics. But if it just doesn't feel right, you'll never go wrong just saying, I'm going to excuse myself. And, the public will never, ever criticize you for that. Because, you're going to get a criticism of a whole draft of other things. The only other thing I'll cover, and I don't know, a lot of municipalities, how you're governed and elected, some are governed by wards, some are governed at large. And I don't know if you've ever looked at that. One of, the challenges sometimes with a ward system I found is that it does sometimes focus you on your ward. It doesn't allow you maybe to think in a bigger picture of the municipality. City of Portage, we're elected at large. I live in the southern part of the city, but I'm also responsible to make good decisions for the northern part of the city. And it's just a line there. I don't know what work I find the ward system becoming less and less in municipalities. Our former president, Ralph Graining, from the Arma Morris, they went from ward to at large. He says it's improved council decisions and debate and everything much greater. It's something you're going to have to maybe look at. I don't know. That's your decision. I'm not, but it is something that I think you should consider. I mean, you're elected by your wards. Do you have ward allowances or anything?
No,
No,
not ward
okay.
allowances.
So you're elected by ward. So you have what? Six.
Yeah, 6.
But I'm not here. That's your call. How you best want to govern yourselves. But keep it in mind. It's, Winnipeg is on a ward system. Other cities are at large. It's, I know for me, if I was elected just in my little area, you're going to push as hard for that area, but I may not be the best decision maker for the rest of my city. So there's pros and cons, but I would encourage you to at least look at it and look at some other municipalities and talk to them and see what they thought. So, 2 books that I would encourage you to read, or Kara to get for you. They were given to me. Fortunately, I read them both when I was with AMM, but my mayor gave me 2 books to read. When I first got elected, she called me in. We talked about assignments and then said, one is Who's Driving the Grader by Ian McCormick. Gives you a good sort of basis of what council should do, what should not do. And the other one is 13 Ways to Kill Your Community. Doug Griffith, he has been at AMM, he's done some stuff. It's kind of a 13 ways, watch these things, how you can kill your municipality or your community. So, any final questions before? I'm giving you a lot. I'm going to give Kara, because of time, I eliminated a few things that, you can just read, but I want to congratulate you for being on council. I'm one of you now as an elected official. I look forward to seeing you at AMM, and it's nice to be back in a municipal office. I spent so much time, over 20 years in these offices, I missed it, I really did. But now that I'm an elected official, I can go to the convention and just socialize, enjoy the sessions, and not worrying about running things. But congratulations, and I hope you take this, I know it's tough sometimes, but take this as an honor that the public has given you. Take it seriously. You have some real powers under the Act, and you should be proud of what you've done, and you're going to do a great job for Rosedale, I'm sure. Every municipality has these challenges, everyone, and I hope you're on the way up, and you find that good balance with your staff, and it's like a dance party. You ever see, I can't dance, but it's like a dance. You ever see couples dancing so well, and one's leading, and that's the way it is with council and their staff. It's just trying to find that nice dance that 2 of you can just get along and make sure you're doing. And disagreeing is okay. It's going to happen. So, I wish you well in the next 4 years. You'll make Rosedale a better municipality. So thank you.